A newborn takes its first breath. The delivery room is quiet for only a moment before the silence is broken by a cry so ordinary that no one gives it a second thought. Nurses smile. Parents exhale. Another life has entered the world. What no one can see is that, in the space of a single heartbeat, nature may have just created a biological combination that has never existed before and may never exist again. Most people believe rarity is something obvious: the tallest person alive, the rarest eye color, a unique fingerprint. But that isn't how nature defines rarity. Nature counts probabilities, not appearances. And sometimes those probabilities become so impossibly small that a single human life begins to look less like chance and more like a statistical miracle. There are more than 8 billion people on Earth today. We share cities, languages, cultures, and surprisingly, almost all of our DNA. In fact, any two humans are more than 99.9% genetically identical. At first, that sounds like proof that we're almost the same. That tiny difference contains millions of genetic variations, each combining in ways so complex that the number of possible human genomes becomes almost impossible to imagine. Long before you were given a name, probability had already started writing your story. And with every generation, that story becomes even more unpredictable. Scientists once believed they understood the limits of human variation. Then the genome was mapped. As researchers looked deeper into our DNA, they didn't find simple answers. They found exceptions, mutations that appeared only once, genes behaving in unexpected ways, entire biological patterns that seemed to ignore what medicine thought it already knew. The deeper they searched, the stranger humanity became. But genetics is only the beginning, because sometimes rarity isn't written in the code itself. It's written in the blood. In 1961, doctors in Australia encountered something they had never seen before. A woman undergoing routine blood testing appeared to be missing every known Rh antigen on her red blood cells. At first, it looked like a mistake. The tests were repeated again and again. The result never changed. Her blood didn't fit the system medicine had spent decades building. Researchers eventually gave it a name: Rh null. Today it is often called golden blood, not because of its color, but because of its rarity. Fewer than 100 confirmed people have ever been identified with this blood type. For those who have it, survival can become unexpectedly complicated. Receiving blood is almost impossible unless another Rh null donor can be found. Yet at the same time, their blood can help save others with extremely rare Rh conditions. It is both incredibly valuable and incredibly fragile, a reminder that sometimes the rarest gift can also be the greatest burden. Most people assume this is where human rarity reaches its limit. It isn't, because there are people walking through life carrying not one genetic identity, but two. Imagine taking a DNA test and discovering that parts of your own body don't share the same genetic code. It sounds impossible, yet medicine has documented exactly that. The condition is known as human chimerism. It can happen when two embryos developing separately in the earliest days of pregnancy merge together before birth. Instead of becoming twins, they become one individual, one body, two genetic blueprints. In some cases, blood carries one DNA profile while skin carries another. Even organs within the same body may trace back to different cell lines. For years, some people only discovered they were chimeras after medical tests produced results that seemed impossible. Parents appeared unrelated to their own children. DNA evidence contradicted reality. Doctors questioned laboratory equipment before realizing something far stranger had happened. Nature had quietly rewritten its own rules. And suddenly, one of the strongest tools in modern science, DNA, was no longer giving a simple answer. It was telling two stories at once. But even these extraordinary cases raise a deeper question. If biology can produce blood that almost doesn't exist, if it can create a person carrying two genetic identities, then perhaps the rarest human isn't defined by a single mutation or condition at all. Perhaps true rarity emerges only when countless unlikely events collide inside one lifetime, and that possibility forces us to look beyond medicine and into probability itself. Probability is a strange force. It doesn't make the impossible impossible. It simply makes it incredibly unlikely. And given enough time, Nature has a habit of exploring even its most unlikely possibilities. Every person alive is the product of an unbroken chain stretching back billions of years. If a single ancestor had lived in a different place, made a different decision, or arrived a few seconds later, that chain would have ended before you ever existed. The odds of you existing were unimaginably small long before your DNA was formed. But evolution doesn't stop once we're born. Every time a cell divides, tiny copying errors can occur. Most are harmless, many disappear forever, yet occasionally one survives. Over generations, these rare changes become part of humanity's story, quietly shaping traits, abilities, and even resistance to disease. Researchers have discovered people carrying genetic mutations that seem almost unbelievable. Some naturally produce unusually low levels of LDL cholesterol, dramatically reducing their lifetime risk of heart disease. Others carry mutations that provide protection against infections that once devastated entire populations. There are individuals born with bones so dense they are extraordinarily difficult to break. Others experience remarkably little physical pain because of exceptionally rare genetic variants. Each discovery reminds scientists of the same unsettling truth. The human genome is far more flexible than we once imagined, and somewhere within billions of people are combinations that medicine has never encountered before. Then there are the traits we don't immediately notice. A person with an exceptionally powerful immune response. Another with an unusual ability to function on very little sleep. Someone whose body processes medicine completely differently from almost everyone else. These differences rarely make headlines, yet they quietly challenge the idea of what a normal human actually is. Perhaps normal has never been a fixed destination. Perhaps it has always been the average of countless extraordinary exceptions. As genetic sequencing becomes more advanced, researchers continue finding variations that had remained hidden for centuries. Many are so rare they have been documented only once. Some have never been seen again. Others may still exist in people who have never undergone genetic testing at all, which raises an extraordinary possibility. The rarest human on Earth may not be famous. They may never appear in a scientific journal. They may never know their own biology is unlike anyone else's. They could be sitting on a crowded train, walking through a supermarket, or passing you on a quiet street, carrying a combination of genes that has never existed before and may never exist again. And perhaps that is the most remarkable part of this story. We often imagine rarity as something we can see. A face, a height, a record, a visible difference that separates one person from the crowd, but nature rarely works that way. Its greatest masterpieces are often invisible, hidden beneath skin, inside blood, within cells that continue dividing in silence every second of every day. So, who is the rarest human possible? Science doesn't have a name. It may never have one, because the answer isn't a single person. It's a moving target. Every birth reshuffles the mathematics. Every generation rewrites the possibilities. Every life introduces combinations the universe has never tested before. The rarest human may have already lived, or may be born tomorrow, or perhaps, without ever realizing it, the rarest human possible is quietly living an ordinary life, completely unaware that, in the mathematics of existence, they are an event so unlikely that the universe may never repeat it again. And maybe that's the deepest truth of all. We spend our lives searching for what makes us extraordinary, comparing ourselves to millions of others. Yet the closer science looks, the more it reveals something beautifully unexpected. Uniqueness was never something we had to earn. It was written into us from the very beginning, not as a promise of greatness, but as a reminder that the universe has never created your exact story before. And after you're gone, it never will again.